Every year, hundreds of books and articles are published in the fields of New Testament studies and early Christianity, and the pace of publication is accelerating. The material is overwhelming, and much of it insufficiently noticed, simply because of the sheer volume of publication. Even scholars with few teaching responsibilities are unable to keep up with the never-ending cascade of research in this field, not to mention the large number of allied disciplines. But what if there was a resource that summarized this material and presented it in a curated form that anyone could read through in a single day? Well, that resource exists, and it is called New Testament Abstracts. Founded in 1956, New Testament Abstracts is an indispensable research and bibliographical tool for scholars, librarians, and clergy, and students of the New Testament and its historical milieu. Every year, New Testament Abstracts summarizes an abundance of journal articles, currently about 1,200 annually, chosen from more than 500 periodicals in numerous languages. In addition, hundreds of current books are also summarized annually, currently about 400. Now in its seventh decade, New Testament Abstracts has become the definitive source for bibliographic information on current literature devoted to research of the New Testament itself and the times and cultures in which it was formed. From the start, it was envisaged as an international journal in the scope of its audience, and it has become an invaluable resource accessed around the world. Now, scholars who don't have the time to keep up with everything recently published on a topic have the crucial information summarized at their fingertips. Readers with no facility in French, German, Italian, or Spanish can still keep up with the latest ideas from articles in these languages, expertly offered in an English summary. In short, New Testament Abstracts is a way for anyone to get a leg up on research and to confidently wade through the continuously cascading waters of modern scholarship. New Testament Abstracts is sponsored by Boston College. It is a three-person team made up of Dr. Christopher Matthews, Dr. David Jorgensen, and myself, Dr. David Litwa. We all work together to produce the content for the journal in-house. The team receives and examines the books and articles it needs and provides its own book notices and abstracts according to a defined and systematic approach. How is the bibliographic information in New Testament Abstracts organized? It is presented through a series of time-tested categories. Under the broad heading of New Testament General, you'll find the subcategories of canon, interpretation, textual criticism, biblical linguistics and philology, biblical translation, computer-assisted research, scholars, and bulletins, which themselves summarize the literature. Next comes a category on Gospels, starting with general studies and followed by Jesus, Jesus' passion and death, the resurrection, the synoptic Gospels, and then each of the individual Gospels, plus the book of Acts. Then come all of the epistolary writings, preceded by a section on Paul the Apostle, which is followed by the individual Pauline letters, along with the book of Hebrews, the Catholic epistles such as 1 and 2 Peter and James, and it's all capped off by the book of Revelation. We cover biblical theology in general, as well as more particularly with reference to Christology, the church and ministry, and a multitude of theological themes. Finally, we survey the New Testament world with attention to the key relevant areas of archaeology, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the world of early Judaism, rabbinics, the Greco-Roman world, early Christianity, and Gnosticism. That's correct. In addition to keeping up with the standard New Testament and biblical journals, we also summarize many of the standard classics and archaeology journals when they have articles relevant to the field of the New Testament. In the early Christianity category, we cover the Apostolic Fathers, Apocryphal Gospels and Acts, and second century apologists, plus other figures, up to and including Irenaeus. We work hard to break down barriers between modern New Testament studies and the field of patristics, as well as between the study of heresiology and the study of gnosis and Nag Hammadi. So if you're just interested in rabbinic studies or the Greco-Roman world, you can read the summaries of books and articles in those subfields. But since we've neatly organized and presented everything, you can actually see all that's recently published and get a sense of the field as a whole. Why is this important? Well, the best and most creative research is able to cross disciplinary or subdisciplinary boundaries. You may not be able to read everything, but if you know that someone working in another subfield is using a similar method, then you can dive into their material to see if there are ways you can better utilize and perfect that method for your own subject. If you were trained in philology and textual studies, you can keep up to speed with archaeology and the study of material artifacts. If you're a theologian, you can keep up with historical studies, and vice versa. Historians can see what's current in theology. The possibilities of cross-fertilization or cross-pollination are rich. You'll find material you would have never located otherwise, and you'll make connections you would not have made otherwise. How do you gain access to New Testament abstracts? Currently, there are two modes of access. You can order a print subscription to the journal. The print journal will then arrive at your doorstep roughly 3 times a year. The advantage of having the print form is that you can view all of the recent articles on a certain topic in an adjacent context. Reading the journal straight through effectively gives you a snapshot of all recent research in the field, and you can compare and contrast the material. For instance, 3 articles on Galatians 2:20 or on the Acts of Paul and Thecla may appear in the same year, and you can immediately compare them. The print form also contains the most recent material that has been abstracted. New Testament abstracts material between 1956 and 1985 is now in the public domain, and it can be accessed online on the HathiTrust website. See the link in the description. For more recent issues, you can consult the New Testament Abstracts EBSCO database, which is available through affiliation with 300+ institutions, universities, and seminaries, with departments of biblical studies, theology, and religious studies. In the database, you'll gain access to 90,000+ records from thousands of journals and books. Article coverage in the database dates back to 1985. Having the database allows you to run precise searches by author, date, title, and so on. Here's an example of the search fields in the New Testament Abstracts database. You can see that you can search for multiple words in multiple fields, such as text, abstract, abstract number, etc. For instance, we can search for a figure near and dear to my heart, Marcion, as a title search, and we can click the box for peer-reviewed articles and books. We see that the first 3 sources it pulls up are very recent. First, from Dieter Roth, the testimony for Marcion's Gospel in the Nestle Aland 28, my own article on Did Marcion Call the Creator God, and an interesting article on the anonymous source for Marcion's Gospel in a manuscript of the British Library. If we, for instance, click on my article, Did Marcion Call the Creator God, we will get access to the PDF full text you can see on the left and the actual abstract on the bottom right. It will also obviously give you the information for the journal in which it was published, the DOI, the publication year, and the category under which it was put in New Testament abstracts, in this case, the world of the New Testament, early Christianity. If we scroll down, we see an interesting article by David Wilhite, Is Jesus Yahweh? And then in 5th place, an article in German on the short and long text of Luke 22 and its attestation in Marcion's Gospel. Then an interesting article on Marcion's relevance in the contemporary world, addressing religious violence. Just scrolling down one more time here so that we can get the top 10, we see an interesting article again on Did Tertullian Read Marcion in Latin by T.J. Lang. Then Marcion's Gospel and the History of Early Christianity. The Devil is in the Reconstructed Details, again by Dieter Roth. Marcion and the Corruption of Paul's Gospel by Judith Liu, and Jason Badun's New Studies of Marcion's Evangelion. In short, what you will receive, and there are literally dozens of articles on Marcion, what you will receive is all of the latest research so that you don't have to go to the library, find recent books, and ransack the bibliographies. Essentially, the bibliographical work is already done for you, and on top of that, you get a scholarly summary of what the newest research is. This will serve much like a jetpack for your research, accelerating you into the topic of your choice and giving you, as I mentioned, the leg up in your research. I'm one of the writers for New Testament Abstracts. I can tell you personally, we believe in our product, and we work to make it available to you because we want true and good scholarship to be available to everyone. I want to thank you for listening to this informational video. I hope that it has been beneficial, and I hope that it inspires you to enter into the exciting world of scholarship in the New Testament and early Christianity.